History in a nutshell. What happened in the Neolithic, you ask? Well, the period lasted for nearly 2,000 years in Britain, so it's a pretty safe bet to say that loads happened. Loads and loads and loads. The trouble is, we just don't know about most of it. Because the people of this period didn't write anything down, we've had to piece together their past from the things they left behind, like monuments, burials, and everyday bits and pieces, like stone tools and pots. But let's find out what we do know. First off, the Neolithic period in Britain lasted from about 4000 BC to 2300 BC. The people at the time wouldn't have known they were Neolithic. It's just the name archaeologists use to describe the time when people began to farm. Neolithic means New Stone Age. It was the last of 3 Stone Ages. The first one, known as the Paleolithic, began in Britain a whopping 900,000 years ago. You could say the Stone Age went on for ages and ages and ages. But let's stick with the Neolithic for now. People first started farming in the Middle East about 11,000 years ago. At this point, people in Britain were nomadic hunter-gatherers. Farming didn't reach Britain for another 7,000 years. But once it arrived here, it spread quickly. Farming meant that people could store food and have supplies of meat, milk, and cereals that could last them through the winter months. To begin with, farming actually involved a lot more work, a less varied diet, and more infectious diseases. Compared with hunter-gatherers, the early farmers were not just shorter, but their lives were shorter too. Britain underwent a total transformation in the Neolithic, and that was mostly thanks to farming. From about 4000 BC, people in Britain grew new crops like wheat, barley, and pulses, and they herded goats, sheep, pigs, and cows. They chopped down woodland and cleared scrub, making room for fields and space to build monuments. They began to make simple pottery, and they quarried stone to make polished axes. From around 3800 BC, they started building communal tombs called long barrows and large earthwork enclosures, which may have been gathering places. It's possible that people built the communal tombs to worship their ancestors, perhaps believing that the dead could help the living. Later on in the period, they built more mysterious monuments, including the massive earth mound at Silbury Hill, and most famously, circles from stone and wood like Castlerigg, Woodhenge, Avebury, and Stonehenge. Stonehenge was built in about 2500 BC. That's 180 generations ago. These were huge undertakings for people with limited technology. Why did they bother faffing around with all this fancy building work when there was so much farming to be getting on with? Again, we don't know for certain, but it probably had something to do with how they saw the world. The sheer amount of effort that went into them suggests that they were deeply important places. Some monuments, like Stonehenge, were aligned with the midsummer sunrise and midwinter sunset. For these farming people, the changing of the seasons and the movements of the sun, moon, and stars must have played a massive part in their beliefs about the world. Even as Stonehenge was being built, the days of the Neolithic were numbered. Bronze was coming to Britain, and the Stone Age was drawing to a close.